And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we are going to be looking at the NBA MVP ladder and where what are the top 10 players, actually, well, more so, what are the top 5 players, and then looking at the rest of the players in the top 10. We're going to focus more on the top 5 than the players in the top 10, but I'll try to get through all of them given the amount of time that we have. So we're going to go right ahead into this segment. So the number one player in the MVP ladder so far in this season is one and only Anthony Davis. Now, I feel like that's really obvious, right? The case behind this, because we know that the Lakers, they don't have the best record in the NBA right now. Usually the MVP goes to the best player on the best team, right? But Anthony Davis is number one, and the biggest reason why is because of how he opened up the season in the first few weeks, right? He seems like he's ready to get the MVP. Right now for the season, he's averaging 32 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game along with that as well. He's leading the league in scoring and is also able to do it on both ends. This makes him an incredibly worthy player to be in consideration for the MVP. Not to mention the fact that the Lakers ended up losing against the Grizzlies without Anthony Davis in the roster, which only boosts his MVP status and only boosts the argument on whether or not he really deserves the MVP. Because, the way I see it, most valuable player is, not only just the best player on the best team, but a player that is detrimental to the team's success, which is a big reason why Jokic ended up winning the MVP in the last 3 of the 4 years that an MVP has been named, right? And of course, one of the biggest issues with Anthony Davis is whether or not he's going to be able to stay healthy. Like I said, he missed the Grizzlies game mainly because of his health. So he's going to be dealing with a recurring foot injury that could cause him to miss a couple of games. And it could throw a little bit of a bump in the road, and maybe he'll drop in the rankings. Can he shoot the ball with his fingers crossed? We'll see. We have no idea exactly how well, if he can even continue going on like this for the season. But as of right now, he is number one on the MVP rankings, and he's definitely worth it. It's not like it's a fluke, right? Now, the next player on these MVP rankings might surprise you, Jason Tatum. Personally, it does not surprise me. Jason Tatum, again, MVP usually goes to the best player on the best team. And so far in this season, it looks like he's trying to go on a redemption tour, especially after the Olympics, where he did not play in a couple of the games. And, he won an NBA championship and the Olympic gold medal in the last 3 months of the summer, but he wasn't awarded the finals MVP, and again, he was benched twice in the Paris games. So Tatum might feel a little bit bitter, especially with all the criticism that he was getting from the media, and his campaign so far has been incredibly solid. He's averaging 30 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4.8 assists per game, not to mention the fact that his team is second in the Eastern Conference. Again, it usually goes to the best player on the best team. And Tatum being the best player right now on one of the best teams in the entire NBA is definitely going to put him in that ranking. So not really much that needs to be said about this. The real question is if he's going to be able to keep up this 30-point performance, right? As long as he can maintain this averages, and assuming that the Lakers maybe fall off a little bit in the Western Conference rankings, Jason Tatum might end up winning the MVP, at least with how this ladder is being shaped. Now, the big question and the big reason why he probably won't win the MVP is because his team is again, just a phenomenal team. Outside of him, Jaylen Brown and Derek White, they are 22, 25 point per game scorers, which makes it a little bit difficult for him to continue on with this argument of being the best player on the best team, especially when it's you have other supporting casts as a big reason as to why you're winning these games. So that's really one of the big arguments for Jason Tatum and why he probably shouldn't get the MVP. But as of right now, second in the MVP race is not all that bad. Next player, of course, Nikola Jokic. If he's not in the MVP conversation, there is something wrong. He's averaging 28 points per game, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists per game. That is a triple-double stat line right there. And that honestly could be enough to have him in the MVP conversation. Right now, really the only thing that's keeping him out of it is the fact that they're not the number one team in the Western Conference. And one thing that he does have going for him right now is that he's coming off of a 26, 20, and 16 game against OKC, which was OKC's first loss, and OKC was the best team in the Western Conference before that game. And basically, like, he's already the best offensive player in the NBA as of right now. I mean, like, his versatility on the offense, he's incredible in fantasy, by the way, and again, just one of the more impactful players for the NBA. And the difference is that the Nuggets are really struggling, or at least, they were initially. We have no idea exactly like how they're going to finish with the season. And Jokic has been phenomenal in these games, but the gap between the number 3 and the number 1 seed is a place in which he's familiar with. So he might be able to close it rather quickly, but as of right now, he is in the 3rd spot, mainly because of his team record. Again, team record is very, very important when you're talking about MVPs. Next player on this list is SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm sure all of you sort of expected SGA to make it on the MVP polls, at least somewhere in the top 5, right? He's averaging 26 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6.8 assists along with that as well. His team is winning. He's producing. That's, again, the recipe for an MVP caliber player, and he is in the top 5. However, it is a little bit of a step down from his performance last season, where I believe he was averaging around 30. But again, if the Thunder can keep this up, and if the Thunder can continue winning these games, they did suffer one loss to the Denver Nuggets. If they can continue winning games and winning them by how they've been winning them by, I mean, this was the first team in history to ever go 7-0 and win each game by double digits or more. Like, well, not double, it can't be more than double digits, honestly. My bad. But again, first team in NBA history to win 7 games by double digits, and first 7 games, I should say. So, we have to sort of see exactly whether or not he can hold this up and whether or not the team can continue being the successful OKC team that we've already been seeing so far from this season. Now, the next player on this list is, of course, Donovan Mitchell. And the big reason why he's on this list, best player on the best team. The Cavs are the only team that has yet to lose a single game in the season. And as much as we all like SGA, Mitchell benefits from an incredibly solid start individually as well as being the conference leader. So this is just, a classic best player on the best team type scenario. I will say, however, that his numbers and his averages aren't necessarily on par with the rest of the players on this list. He's only averaging 23 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Compared to the rest of the players on the list that I've already mentioned, this is the lowest points per game production coming in from an MVP, from a top 5 MVP candidate so far. He has played only 30 minutes per game, and they are the fewest of his career, but yet his production per minute is ridiculous. And Mitchell's game winner against the Bucks ranks among one of the best shots so far this season. And really the question is, can the Cavs keep it up? And can the Cavs continue to be a flawless team? Obviously, they're probably going to lose eventually, but the fact that they are the only team that has yet to lose in the NBA season is an incredible boost to the ranking. And obviously it would make sense why, why Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the best team and why he is in these MVP rankings, right? Hold on just one second while I continue to pull up the rest of this list and I adjust it real quick. All right. So anyways, those are the top 5 players. Those are the top 5 players in the MVP ladder. Now, the rest of the players on the MVP, number 6, Kevin Durant, number 7, Anthony Edwards, which I don't understand why, number 8, Luka Doncic, number 9, surprisingly, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and number 10, Tyrese Maxey. Now, Giannis and Tyrese, they're on this top 10 list mainly because of the stats that they're averaging. Because if we're going based off of team record, they are some of the worst teams in the entirety of the Eastern Conference. So it makes no sense that they're going to win the MVP as of right now just based off of their standings. But their averages are nothing short of impressive. I'm not really going to get into their averages all that much because it's more or less garbage time stats, for lack of a better term. Because again, while they're producing really well, these productions are not leading to team wins. So that's not really MVP type performances, right? Kevin Durant, I will talk about, however. Again, right now the Suns, they seem to be the best team in the Western Conference, at least, looking at the standings. In fact, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and check the standings because they probably already changed from the last time I looked at it. Again, the last time I looked at it was yesterday. So yeah, I mean, these right now the Suns, they're, tied for one of the best records in the NBA. They're tied with the Thunder and they're tied with the Golden State Warriors. All three of them are 7-1. Kevin Durant is averaging 27 points per game, 55% shooting from the field, 42% shooting from three, along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Obviously, that is going to be MVP caliber performances. It's just the rest of these players on this list have slightly better averages, slightly better team success, but it's marginal. Like it's really, really close, these the team success along with the stats, right? So saying that he's in the top 6, it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. In fact, I think that's rather respectable. Now, the next player with Anthony Edwards, now again, the big reason why I don't really feel like, and I don't understand why he's on this, is mainly due to team success. Again, his team is in the 6th seed of the Western Conference, which is not bad, but again, it's not MVP caliber, right? But his averages, on the other hand, 28 points per game, 48% from the field, 46% from 3, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. That's nothing short of impressive, but from what I'm noticing, at least, it seems like his production is a little bit more in the scoring category than it is everywhere else. And when you look at the rest of the players, in the top 10, excluding Donovan Mitchell, because the reason why he's in the top 5 is because of his team success. SGA, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, and Anthony Davis, they are elite at other categories aside from just scoring. I mean, SGA, while he is a dominant scorer similar to Anthony Edwards, he's also able to produce in the assist category, almost 7 assists per game, and also gets solid rebounds, way more rebounds average than Anthony Edwards. Nikola Jokic, we know his production on offense is ridiculous. A triple-double average is nothing short of impressive. And in regards with Tatum, he is predominantly a scorer, but he does have a better team record, and he averages more rebounds along with that. So that's a big reason why he's in 2. And then Anthony Davis, 32 points, 11 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks per game, can do it on both ends of the court, which is a big reason why they're ranked much higher than Anthony Edwards. So I really don't have many complaints about that there. And Luka Doncic, we all know that Luka Doncic is always a top 10 in the MVP conversations at the very least. So far, I don't really have a problem with these rankings at all, and I completely understand why all of these players are ranked where they are. I would put Luka Doncic a little bit over, and I would put Luka Doncic over Anthony Edwards. Wouldn't put him over Kevin Durant mainly because of the Phoenix Suns and their team success. But this is a really solid list, a very, very solid list. I have no problems with it whatsoever. So that's all when we're looking at the MVP ladder, and now we're going to go ahead and go into the 5th segment where I talk about the games that happened yesterday, as well as my predictions for the games going into the future, or, going into the weekend, I should say. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.